Pepe's kind of progressed the most from when he first enrolled to kind of where he is now?
I think obviously just learning the playbook. There's a lot to it. I think his confidence level has grown, like in himself. I moved him over to right to kind of start the thing out, which kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in the plans for him, I think. But as we progressed and he started learning the offense better, I moved him back to left some too, and you can tell there's a comfortability level there, just on pass sets and things like that. But he did a great job at right too. Really excited about him, and he's exactly who we thought he was going to be as well. Exciting to have all seven of those guys here in Ninja.
What do you look for when you're recruiting? Obviously, these guys are a lot bigger than the competition that they'll see in high school, but are there any specific traits that you're looking for when you're recruiting these guys?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing, I want to get guys that are dying to be a USC Trojan, number one. We're fortunate we get to pick out of a lot of guys, just being at this place, the history, the tradition here, all those things. But, I'm probably a little slower in the process than a lot of people because I want to make sure that we're bringing the right people here that want to be here too. And I tell guys all the time, even in recruiting, if you're not dying to be here, go somewhere else. I can't get the most out of you if you're not 100% in. And so I think that's number one. Obviously, all the size characteristics and all that, but I think number two for me, outside of all that stuff, is the mentality piece. How are you going to attack things? Are you a guy that I'm going to have to poke and prod every single day to get you to do the things that we need to do here, or are you a guy that's kind of ingrained in you? And Breck's a great example of a guy that has that. That's why he was able to come in and really compete at a high level early.
Tobias moved to center, took a lot more center reps. Does that feel like more of a permanent move, or is that kind of like the depth piece so far?
We'll see how it goes. He did a good job there, moving in, never really playing there. The plan hopefully is to be able to keep him inside this year. I think we have a lot of tackle depth that we feel really good about, which is a great thing to have. But we all saw what he was able to do kind of across the board last year. And, like I said, he did some really good things, man. It's going to be competitive 5 deep, or 5 spots in the 2 deep here. So I think having him to have that versatility will be really good.
How do you mix between trying to get guys to be more versatile on the offensive line and kind of developing them at one position?
Yeah, try to be careful with it. I mean, it's obviously some of the older guys, you can take advantage of that a little bit more because they know the plays and the different positions better than a younger guy. Try not to give the young guys too much at one time. But it's kind of on a person-by-person basis, too. Some guys can handle that, other guys can't mentally. So try to get a feel for each guy and see, this body type would work at these different spots, this skill set. What's the mental side of it look like now? Can they handle learning multiple spots? And if they can, I try to do it. If they can, I don't.
In the past, typically, freshmen will come in, they're going to redshirt, get ready for that second, third year. How much further advanced are these guys, the freshman class of this far? We've been talking about Breck, Kolojay, Keenyi Pepe. Is that kind of wall broken now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on a case-to-case basis, I think the guys that go to the IMGs and Modern Days and those type of schools are probably a little further ahead, and that's not to say the other guys are in a bad position or anything. I didn't know what a 3-tech was when I got to college, seriously. And so it just takes a little bit more time for some guys, but a lot of it's all about just the processing of information. If they can do that and they retain things well, they'll learn fast. And, we talk about Tobias Raymond a lot. Tobias wasn't that far off of where I was at when I came out as a player. He did not come from a structured program like that. A good program, great coaches, but not anywhere near what we are at this level. And to see what he's been able to do in his time has been really impressive. So, I do think there's an advantage for some of those guys that come from some programs that are more like a college program. But again, it comes down to that person individually, like how much information can they process and retain, and then physically, what are they like, and Breck and Keenyi are 2 physically imposing guys as young freshmen. So, God bless them with a lot of ability that some guys don't have, and that certainly will help that kind of show.
And where are the second-year guys on the spectrum right now? Viakona, Willie Washer.
Yeah.
Where are they right now?
I think they had a great spring. Viakona, towards the last 3 or 4 practices, really turned the corner, I feel like. Always intentional about how he works. Same with Aaron Dunn. Like those guys were both working really hard, man. And we had a couple of the older guys dinged up a little bit early on in spring, so they had some really good opportunities to get in there with the ones and take advantage of those reps. And then it's really good for Willie too. Willie's just continued to climb and become a really good player for us, and zero hesitation to put that guy in a game. He's going to make the right calls. He's going to work extremely hard to do what he needs to do. He plays with great edge. Smart kid, great kid. Like, guy we have a lot of confidence in.
You wanted the line to graduate from a group that covers guys up to a group that physically dominates guys. That was when you said before the spring started, right?
Yep.
How much progress did you guys make there specifically?
Yeah, I think we made some good strides. Still got some room to grow. I think we'll always have room to grow. That's just the side of the game that you have to continue to develop for your entire career. But to get those guys to do it together is really the biggest piece. I think we did some really good things. We had guys kind of all over the place too, though. I mixed in all of our freshmen with some older guys for the most part. You'd have a third-year tackle, a true freshman guard, a second-year center, a true freshman guard, a true freshman tackle, or something like that. That mix. So, I think some of the continuity that'll come within fall camp when we start to line out maybe a little bit more with the 2 deep looks like. We'll be able to take some more steps there, but just as a group in general, I think the guys did a nice job with that, man, like trying to take that next step.
Do you guys keep pancake stats?
So we don't really keep pancake stats. They're called 6-packs is what we call them here. So it's basically when all 6 guys in the blocking formation, tight ends included in that, kind of do their job and get the running back up to the second or third level untouched. We call that a 6-pack, and that typically is going to breed like a really big, nice run. But yeah, I try to keep track and make sure the guys know, hey man, good physical knockdown. We have a physical tape that we put together, and we watch as like an O-line staff and make sure to like communicate that to the guys.
On a good team, what percentage of runs are 6-packs? Like, what's the target? Obviously you're not going to have 1,000, but
yeah, I think realistically we're shooting like 40 to 50% would be like elite. It sounds crazy, but those guys across are pretty good across from us are pretty good too. So to get a running back up to the third level untouched is you're doing some really special things there, and so we started out kind of slow. I think we were like sub-20s, and then we started creeping up to closer to like 30% towards the end of spring ball. So something we keep track of daily, make sure to show the guys, make sure to point it out on the film when it happens. Hey man, like look at this. This is going to be a big run. And that's something we kind of implemented this last year because the season before we didn't have a lot of big chunk runs. And we all know that those are huge, and what we're trying to do right is have explosive. So I think it helped us out this year. Had a lot more explosive runs at 25, and then maybe continue to amp that up here in 26 as well.
How is it that Breck first came onto your radar?
Honestly, when I first took over the O-line job, I just started looking through all the lists and went back and made my own evaluations of guys that I wanted to see that maybe we had passed on previously. And he was a guy that you could just see on film. You could see his processing ability and the things that he did. He looked like a college player on tape, and that was as a junior, And so right away I was like, man, I gotta go see this kid. What does his body look like? I wanted to get him on the board and see what he could do from a mental standpoint. And I actually when I first went to IMG, I was obviously going to see Pepe too. My big goal was to get Breck on the board and talk ball, and so I was like, hey man, can we get on the board? And the guy like had a pen in his hand. He's like, actually, I got some questions for you. Seriously, he's like, he started drawing stuff up, and he was drawing the whole formation and some plays that they were running. Hey, how would you block this? I told my coach I thought this way. I was like, dude, this guy is unbelievable. And so right there, I knew a lot. And so relationship grew from there. Loved the mentality. The kid's a great kid. He's dialed in, man. He wants to be great. And so we're excited to have him.
Does he feel like he has the makeup, like you said, the football intelligence to play quickly, maybe as a freshman?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, he's as sharp as anybody I've been around as a true freshman. Very intelligent kid, but plays that way too and can process at a really, really high level. But from a physical standpoint as well, man, he's got great feet. He's a big physical kid. He's strong. Still a lot of room to grow, obviously, like he always will have, but he's really impressive.
See him primarily as an interior guy. Right?
Yeah, he'll be somewhere in the interior. I think he could grow into a fantastic center as well down the line because of his ability level to process information. And it's one of Killian's strengths. Obviously, is he can coach it just like I can, honestly. And Breck's going to be a guy like that too.
What have you seen from Hayden Treater so far with his development over the past few years? And it seems like he's taken a big step this past season.
Yeah, he has. No, for sure. And I'm a big believer in Hayden, man. I mean, that guy he's a big, powerful kid. He had the injuries early on that kind of kept him out. And so, honestly, I kind of view him as a player, as like a second-year player instead of a third-year player, just because he was out the whole first year, but again, kind of going back with Breck and Killian and those guys, like, knows ball, very intelligent, knows the offense. He's a big, powerful kid. I feel like he started to get his legs underneath him this spring, which is exciting because that was the injury part, was trying to get that lower body strength back. And I saw him, bend and snap his hips into some blocks that I hadn't seen him do before. And, he's doing some really good things, man. So excited to see what he can do for us this year.
Yeah.
You said you wanted some tough decisions after spring. How many tough decisions would you say you have, looking kind of position by position in terms of what's truly open going into the fall?
All of it. It's all open. I mean, I know everybody says that, but it really is, man. I mean, it's at the end of the day, my job is to put the best five out there. Period. There's no personal element to it. It's not because I like a kid more than another kid. At the end of the day, who's going to help us win football games? And I've talked to you guys a lot about the chemistry of the line. I'm not a big rotate guy or rotate guys around guy. I believe in playing 5 core guys and then bringing along other guys and trying to stick with the lineup the best you can. Hopefully you can early on get some guys mixed in there if you do what you're supposed to do early in the season and win big against some teams. You can get your young guys in, but there's no guarantees in that either. So I think just continuing to bring all these guys along, I think there's going to be a ton of competition. I really do, maybe even more than I thought this one.
We talked about recruiting the more heralded guys like Keenyi and the Breck. How do guys like John Fafita, Chase Timmons, how do they end up on the radar?
Yeah, I think you always need to bring in some developmental guys, and so I kind of saw those guys as big athletic bodies, guys that probably would go on and be really good players somewhere else, but I'm a developmental background. I came from K-State and it was at Tulsa and some of the schools that you had to find guys and develop, and some of those guys ended up being elite players. I had a first rounder at Tulsa that was that guy, and so kids that were dying to be here, dying to be Trojans, and saw that their ceiling might be a little bit higher than some of those other guys in regard to the amount of ground they could make up, And so I'm excited to have them here too, man. They were exactly who we thought they were coming in as well.
Is it harder to have those developmental guys, like that group of developmental guys, when you do have the portal, when a lot of guys are going to be, just ready to jump somewhere else, instead of waiting 2-3 years to actually play?
Yeah, I think the portal's a great deal. It works for a lot of people. I think it's, for us, it's still very much a thing that we could explore and go into. To me, I'd rather develop my own guys within our offense and in our system. I think it's hard to bring a guy in and him to really embrace and know not only your playbook but your culture and all those things in that short amount of time. I think when you get some of those developmental guys like the Chase Denises and the John Fafitas, you're going to look in a couple years down the road and they might be starting for you. And, they've been all in from the beginning and they've grown through our program with our strength staff, and our nutrition staff, and our offensive staff. And, I think they'll just be a lot further ahead than a guy you bring in for 6 months.
Obviously, you can't talk about this current recruiting cycle, but it seems like USC, you guys are kind of building a little pipeline with Colorado a little bit. You talk about Treater, Cannon Smith, Breck, obviously from Colorado originally. Is that a spot you'd love to just kind of have a footprint